Hi, Honest Discussioner here. I've discussed objective morality numerous times on my channel, and in Stickum. But before you click away, this isn't going to be a big, deep philosophical video defining the meaning of subjective versus objective. Instead, I'm just going to be addressing an argument made by William Lane Craig and explaining in as plain language as I can why the argument is wrong. Simply put, William Lane Craig claims that if everything is relative, if morality is subjective, then we really can't claim anyone has done anything wrong. The usual example is, of course, Hitler.
A society like Nazi Germany cannot be condemned for sending millions of Jews, gypsies, and homosexuals to the gas chambers, for, according to their value system, this was good.
Yes, he argues that Hitler and the Nazis were operating under their own subjective morality, and we can't say they were wrong. Who are we to judge, right? Now, assuming everything is relative, or subjective, this is apparently the case. Well, William Craig is ignoring a very important part of the issue. He fails to take into consideration what the Nazis based their morality on, and whether their presumptions were actually correct. So, what was the rationale behind the Holocaust? Of course, in reality, it was based off of hate, fear, and ignorance, but what was the official reason? If you asked a Nazi soldier after beating up or killing a Jew or a homosexual for no apparent reason, what would they say? Maybe they'd respond with a simple, they are evil. But if you kept probing, and assuming the guy with the gun was in the mood to answer your questions, it would come around to a belief that these people were either harmful to society or inferior, and inferiority is bad as it would affect the gene pool, yada yada yada. So these two reasons were related. So were they right? Were the Jews actually inferior? Were they actually harmful to German society? We can argue about whether this standard is subjective or not, but now we're just talking facts rather than opinions, and any subjectiveness we're going to get into here is minimal at best. I'd argue that no, there is nothing pure about the Aryan race. Blue eyes hold no significant advantage over brown, same goes with blonde over brown hair. Homosexuality isn't shown to be a detriment to society, and in fact can actually be beneficial and healthy to a society, as there's a strong correlation in the animal kingdom, thank you Don Exodus 2, between homosexuality and group cohesion. The fact that they used stereotyping at all should be a red flag, as we know that stereotyping is a group is rarely accurate for each individual in that group. Now, what would we blame a society that oppressed a portion of its citizens if they actually were found to be conspiring to damage that society? If people from a fictional country called Alpha Centauri migrated here and were discovered to be plotting to destroy our society, would we try to remove these people or not? Now, I'm not arguing the Jews were actually plotting anything. In fact, that's my point. The Nazis based their oppression of the Jews on the presumption that they were actually trying to hurt German society, and I'd argue that they in fact weren't. Since the facts they based their morality on were wrong, we can state that their morality was wrong, despite the fact that morality is subjective. If we think about it, this is how we generally approach morality. It wasn't the fact that the Nazis killed millions that made it wrong. It was the fact that they killed innocents that made it wrong. But before you say that it's subjective, again, the Holocaust is wrong by the Nazis' own standards as well, as they wouldn't say it's okay to kill innocents. If I tell you that 1,000 Nazi soldiers died, how does that make you feel? And compare that to how you'd feel if I tell you 100 innocent civilians died. I imagine most would shed a few less tears for the Nazis, and the reason is that we perceive them to be guilty, to be harmful. We would not look at the witch hunts of the Middle Ages as negative as we do if we still thought that the women that were executed actually were terrorizing the towns and eating the souls of children. This is precisely why, as I said in an earlier video, that consequentialism is how, as far as I can see, the better morality. We instinctually base our morality on what the consequences of an action are. The consequences of the Holocaust were millions of innocent people being sent to the gas chambers. But if the consequence of the Holocaust were that millions of terrorists trying to destroy the world were sent to the gas chambers, we'd obviously have a bit of a different look at it. And that is how we can judge others. This is how we do judge others. Despite the contentions of William Lane Craig, we react to the consequences of actions more than their virtue, and any appeal to intent is tied into consequence anyway. Hitler may have thought he was doing a good thing, but do we really spare him any malice for that? There are cultures that do things that we do feel are wrong, but we do not try to stop them because we understand that it is okay within their own cultural context. They might value things differently than we do, and value is certainly subjective. William Lane Craig's argument fails because he equates subjective morality with no morality. He is like a child who doesn't understand if his parents don't tell him he has to brush his teeth, that they're still going to rot anyway if he doesn't. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner, out.